Hi, this is Dan from SpiffWorks. Today I'm going to show you how to use a BPMN diagram to drive an LLM's conversation with someone. Have them answer a whole bunch of questions and progress through a process in a way that feels like a conversation for the end user. But for us, we know they're following through a set of guided steps, and we know where everybody is in that process and how well it's working for them. So you get all of these benefits of LLMs and their really great interface, but then all of the stability and traceability and deterministic abilities of a BPMN diagram sort of driven from the back end. So I'll go ahead and show you, like, if you follow the link, you can run this and respond to these questions in the same way that I am, or in whatever way you see fit if you want to kind of test out the system and see how it works. And you can kind of dig into it because everything that's functioning here is all in this diagram. So there's ways to change everything about it to make it do whatever you want it to do. Because of all that freedom, we do ask that you provide your API key in here. So I've got mine here to run this demo. You'll need to go in and edit line 2 when you open up the link so that your API key is there. And to do that, you just go to Anthropic's website and go through the steps to set up an API key for Claude. And enter it in line 2 and you're good to go. So with all that in place, I can hit play and it's going to start to call the LLM. And basically, I've given it a web form in the form of something called a JSON schema. And so I'm handing that to the LLM and saying, hey, I need you to help this user answer all the required questions that are in this schema. And the first thing it's going to ask us is like, am I working with another real estate agent? And the reason for this is, like, if you're really, that's the very first question that you have to talk to some new person about, because if they already have a real estate agent, by law, you really can't be having you can't be having all these conversations with them. They need to work through their agent to do whatever it needs to happen. So let's just try that out. I'm working with Jane Seymour right now, but I want to see a house you listed. So I'm just going to submit that. And what we're going to do is the LLM is going to examine that. It's going to pull out the details. It's going to make that accessible to the BPMN, which can check to see, are you already working with an agent? And when that happens, it just gently says, hey, I'm sorry, we can't really help you right now. But let's run this. I'm just going to hit this play button again and reset. Let's start this conversation over. And instead of responding that way, I'll say, nope. First time I'm talking to somebody. Shoot, sorry, I can't type here. Nope. Oh my God. First time I am talking to someone. And hit submit. And now it's going to pull that information out and start to put it inside of this basically what amounts to a form. And so it's going to say, okay, well, that's great. You're not working with someone. That's awesome. What type of real estate transaction are you looking at? Are you looking to buy a home or sell? And I'm just going to go ahead and give it like all the information that it wants, just in a kind of stream of consciousness. So I'm selling my home for $300K, I hope, and would like to sell it in the next 3 months. So what's happening here is, I'm just giving it all. I'm just like just going like people do, right? I'm gonna say like the stuff that's on my mind, and what the LLM can do is parse that information, put it into a structured format that would be exactly what we would expect in the web form if we had just thrown like a web form up in front of them, but it fills it out for them. Are you working with an agent? No. What is your transaction type? I'm selling. What's my timeline? 1 to 3 months. What's the price range? Like, yeah, setting a max of, and we can clarify that later as we ask more probing questions. And that's what would happen next, right? We could feed this in another schema, another set of questions. There's a great article that I've written about this that goes into detail about what each step is. And I can show you a little bit of that, but this is like web forms. I guess it's like easier to show it this way. This is the web form that's kind of driving the whole thing. So here's all the questions that we'd really like to answer. You'll notice there are a few with red asterisks beside it, and so that's the things that are required. And if I click on this, you can see it's a drop down list. Are you buying, selling, renting? What's your timeline? Is it 1 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 12? So we're trying to put people in these buckets, get this information, and having like pulled that information from them, like this is all described in a schema, and the schema is something that LLMs in general tend to work with really well. It's JSON, and it just describes the set of information we want to hit. So we just really are just passing this into the LLM, and then we're telling the LLM that as it gathers this information, when it gets its response back, we've told it about a tool, and the tool is the BPMN. And it's not that the LLM is really calling the BPMN. It's that like it's pulling that information out, it's grabbing that information, and it's giving it back to us well structured. And so when we get to the next step, we really control the loop and can then look at those responses and say like, hey, did they signal that they are working with an agent? And we can grab that and change the direction that we go here at this gateway. So if they're working with an agent, we're out. If they're not and they've answered all the questions, we're moving on. So we can like step inside this agentic loop and really change what happens. And we could do like these BPMN diagrams are very, very powerful. There's a lot of directions that we could go. There's a lot of checks that we could make inside of this loop. So we really control the loop rather than the loop controlling us. Rather than the LLM dictating the direction, we can work hand in hand with the LLM and a more deterministic system to do exactly the right thing at the right time. And there it is. Please reach out and talk to us. I hope you dig into this and see how cool it is. In the future, we're going to start playing around with doing all of the things that you see here inside of like a subprocessor call activity. So that what you see at the top level is, all right, here's the intake process. These are the initial questions that we need to ask. If they're selling, here's the questions that we want to ask. If they're buying, here's the questions that we want to ask. And that can be a very simple top level diagram that then calls down in and does all these same things. So for the end user, looks like a conversation, but actually we control every part of that conversation. And we know exactly what we want to ask and when we want to ask it. Thanks so much for listening. I look forward to hearing your feedback.